In today's eMoney tip of the week, we're going to continue our series on stock options. I'm so excited for this because this has been the first time we've brought on a guest host for eMoney tip of the weeks. My good friend and fellow CFP professional, Will Boney from InPark Financial Partners. Now, Will taught me everything I know about stock options inside of eMoney, and he's the best I've ever seen at putting stock options inside of eMoney. So I said to Will, well, you need to come on and do a guest tip because quite frankly, people need to see the first-rate version of you and not the second-rate version of you as I try to show them how to do this. This has been our most requested topic. We need the expert in-house. So this is part 3 of a 7-part series. We're going to focus on non-qualified stock options this week. If you haven't seen the previous 2, please go back because we're going to start right where we left off. The first week, we did basic input. The second week, we focused on restricted stock units. This week, we focus on non-qualified stock options. And without further ado, Will, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Let's do one more entry here, different grant type, maybe a little bit more complex, is going to be a non-qualified stock option.
Will, real quick, this is a tip you taught me a while back. And if I didn't catch this, but if you go back to that screen back there, there's right next to that delete, there's that little copy button. And like every year, your client's going to typically get ones that look similar. That saved me a lot of time too.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
If you weren't in the free form. So that was something I learned from you. Like, so if you didn't do that free form one, and so like, and you just had just one of these in here, or, you know, you just need to like duplicate this. So like next year, the client gets this. If you're in that first screen, when Will taught me that, I was like, oh, that saved me so much time.
Two changes. And I've just made a completely new entry with the exact same schedule with a different grant date and a different vest date, right? So that's when you're dealing with multiple entries and they're all similar, save yourself some time, hit that copy. That's a great point. Glad you brought that.
And I did not see that anybody like the way I've seen how to put it on for their videos or something. And you showed that to me a couple of years ago. I was like, oh, because a lot of times too, when you get this, the client might have 15 or 20 of these already, right? By the time they're coming to you. And that, like, wow, when you did that, I was like, thank you, Will.
All right, so let's put in one more entry here, and then we'll wrap up some of the basic side of this and get you off on your day. But this last grant, it's going to be a non-qualified option. This is going to add a little bit of complexity to what we're doing here. So in this case, again, client got this in January 1st, but this is going to be, let's say, a couple of years old at this point. When we look at these different types, we've got several different types here available. We've got non-qualified, so they use abbreviations here, non-qualified, ISO, DQ, restricted 83B. You know, these come in with different types of stock options, but let's just stick with what we're working on right now, and that's non-qualified. So he got 5,000 shares. Exercise price at that time was around $157.50. There's no discount. Again, we could just put any date down the road that we want to make sure that these don't accidentally blow up on us in the background. And that's going to be the basic entry. So the difference between that entry with the RSU is that this non-qualified option, not restricted, non-qualified, has an exercise price. I'm assuming it's not getting the mechanics of those, but you need to make sure that exercise price is correct. Same thing as before. We're going to do a simple schedule here. These vested over 4 years, and let's say they started January 1st, let's just say 2021. And in this case, they vest over 4 years, and there were 2,000 shares in the initial entry. So again, we can look at this. I can click over to my free form. I can see 2021, 22, 23, 24. Now, when it comes to non-qualified options, I'm gonna tell you to do something a little bit different here, because ultimately, most of our clients are not going to exercise 1,000 options all at once, or they may not sell 1,000 shares all at once. One of the restrictions that we have in eMoney is when we actually get into the strategy section, which will be in our next video, we want some modularity there. We want the ability to be flexible and maybe not sell or buy 1,000 shares at a time. But I'm going to be restricted by this entry here. So here's what I do, is I create additional vesting periods. And then I go back to my freeform schedule. So in this case, on 1/1/2021, we had 2,000 shares. I'm just going to leave that at 2,000. And now I'm gonna put multiple vests on the same date. So exact same as before, but what I'm doing is I'm setting myself up for success, because I know when I get down the line, I'm going to want some more modularity here. And depending on the client, their situation, and how granular I have to control that in the plan, I may actually create 4 or 5 for each vesting period to knock that 1,000 shares down to maybe 200 or 250. But in this case, just for simplicity's sake and to illustrate the point and drive it home, let's just make 2 vesting periods per year so you can see it when we get to the strategy section. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Anything to add before we take a quick look at lots and strategy, Greg?
No, I mean, just every time I watch you do this, I don't do as many stock options as you. So, I do several, every probably month we have a client.
Yeah.
And so I'm always just around. It's just watching you manipulate it. You're just so much faster at it than me. I'm always impressed. I always take something away. So, Will, thank you for sharing this with our team. Thank you for sharing this with all the financial planners that follow the eMoney Tip of the Weeks. So our next eMoney Tip of the Week, we're going to work on strategies. So now that we've done the input side of this over these past couple weeks, we are now going to focus on our strategy. How do we take this data and show it to clients? eMoney. We hope this tip helped educate and empower you to do more plans for your clients so that you can impact more lives through financial planning. If you have some great tips we don't know about, we'd love to hear about them. If you have a better way of doing what we just showed you, we'd love to hear about that, because we are a noble profession, and together we can elevate the profession.